title for what I'm going to talk about. A lot of local connections. You know, I'm not really a Civil War historian. I'm a local historian, so I kind of try to be well-rounded and learn about all that I can about Center County. And you know, you can always learn more about the Civil War on a national level, but even on the local level, there's always something more to learn locally. So it's a big subject just to have local history. So anyways, the first, can you see that okay? I guess it's not the largest, but that'll work if you can see it. This is one of the older photos of Bellefonte. I wanted to show this first because perhaps it was the first Civil War weekend in Bellefonte history, because it was taken July 4th. Well, it was taken before probably July 4th, but it was in preparation for July 4th, 1865. That's a famous, and I won't get into how we date it and everything. Some people think it's from the 80s, but there's a few things that date it. One, the Brocker House is being constructed because it just had a fire the previous year. And then also the businesses all along that street match the maps. And then this is a triumphant arch that they had made. It's hard to see. There's an arch right there. And a lot of cities were doing this because they were welcoming home the troops. And they would march through those arches, and they had a huge party for, they called it a soldier's banquet. And they had picnics out in the fields. They had, you know, sermons. They had people, you know, guest speakers, you know, governors, things like that. People shooting guns in the air. They had all these like little, I guess like kind of like bag candles, the way we do it, all over the place, and it must have had a really cool feel at night. So a big event. So kind of like this weekend celebration. So oh yeah, they call it the strychnine corner as well. Strychnine being poison, and where you can choose your poison at that corner, including women of the night and that kind of thing. So that's our famous red light district, they say. Anyways, this is one of my favorite photos. Came across in the Center County Library and Historical Museum, and what you're seeing is a bunch of Civil War veterans on right there. That building's still there today. I don't know if they have internet. Let me try this. Yeah, it's High and Water Street. To your left would be like Cafe Buzz. Governor's Club would be up here. But that's right out the bridge, and today it's appropriately named Veterans Bridge, because the idea that so many veterans have crossed that bridge to get on a train and deploy or go to training and things like that. These guys were probably going to get on a train, but the photo is undated. But the photo is undated, but it's late 1800s. There's still the church spire in the background that fell in 1913, so it's pre-1913. It has some people's names on the back, but it's a mix of veterans. And the reason they took that photo there is because their GAR hall is up on the 3rd floor. So that's indicated on the Sanborn maps that it's their GAR hall. And so they would meet there twice a month. They'd call it campfire meetings. So even though they weren't having a campfire, they called their GAR meetings campfires, like the good old days where they were on the march and around the campfire. So pretty cool picture. They're probably going to get on a train because they're all dressed up in their official GAR uniforms. They're Union veterans. They're probably going to go to a Gettysburg or to an Antietam dedication or some monument dedication or something like that. All right. I won't mess with that too much, but if you can see the computer, it's where Camp Songer is right now. If I go to the encampment, there. Cool. All right. And then if you can take the cemetery tour with Chuck at some point, I think it's tomorrow, whenever that is, it's really great. And one of the wonderful features in our Union Cemetery, which is not named for the Union soldiers. We have a lot of Union soldiers in there. It was named that because the cemetery unified a couple different burial grounds. And Union Cemetery is a really common name for a cemetery. It just means kind of any denomination, things like that. But anyway, we do have a ton of, a good amount of Union soldiers and veterans from various wars. And one of my favorite features is the Soldiers Circle, which is Civil War veterans who died of old age. It's actually not guys who were killed in battle or died during the war. It's guys who lived into the early 1900s. There's one grave that says 1918 on it. So they're locals that were part of the GAR. It's like a fraternal organization, and their GAR took care of them and said, hey, you know, like maybe you don't have any family left in the area. We're gonna bury you, and instead of just burying you in a regular plot, we're gonna bury you in an eternal campfire. Like the days they would bivouac around the campfire, no tent. So it's kind of. So that statue is based on a photograph of Andrew Gregg Curtin. Governor Curtin was governor during the Civil War. He's one of our 7 governors from Bellefonte. But probably the most notable one, the one most people think of. That photo is basically the statue, except his arm is up. I think that was his 1860 official governor portrait. It's got his gloves, it's got his waistcoat, it's got his frock coat, it's got his little double chain. So there's actually 4 of these statues in Pennsylvania. So he wasn't just a local figure, he was a state and national figure. He was friends with, old Abe there. They were good friends. They helped each other get elected, things like that. So there's 4 of these in Pennsylvania. Any guesses other than Bellefonte? Now, don't say Philly, that's a good guess, but not Philly.
Harrisburg.
Harrisburg, that's right. So there's 2 in Harrisburg, and then there's 1 more somewhere else.
Gettysburg. Mm-hmm.
That's right. So in Harrisburg, there's 2, one in the Capitol. Yes,
I'm sorry. He looked surprisingly young there. Do you know how old he was when he was elected governor?
I don't know his exact age, but yeah. What did you say? Someone said 40s?
40s, yeah.
Yeah. I think he was born around 1815, and then, so this is 1860, so, or maybe 50s, 59 or something like that. So they have
Camp Curtin.
statue of him in the Capitol Rotunda, and then there's a statue of him at the former location of Camp Curtin, which is named in his honor. One of his biggest parts of his legacy is he was known as the soldier's friend. He was very, very involved in raising troops, supporting the troops. You could write to him, he'd write back. His wife and himself were going to the Camp Curtin constantly, giving packages, giving their state colors, doing little speeches for them. Later in the war, his wife, Catherine Wilson Curtin, is going to also help nurse wounded soldiers in their executive mansion in Harrisburg. So they're very involved with the soldiers. They say he knew every Pennsylvania officer's first name, which is probably an exaggeration, but he was very, very hands-on. And if you think Pennsylvania played a big role in the war and Union victory, well, Governor Curtin played a big role in supporting those Union soldiers, and so he played a major role in, of course, the Civil War. So there is a Curtin statue located at the former location of Camp Curtin, which is now the Farm Show Complex area in Harrisburg.
It's just west of the complex. It's in an iffy section of Harrisburg. I've actually Google mapped it.
Yeah. If anybody needs a good photo of it, if you can send it to me, I'll add it to my presentation, because I've yet to do a specific trip to get that photo. I know they're online, but
He knows where it is.
Yeah, good
I'm
photo.
the president of Camp Curtin Store.
Okay.
It's at 6th and Woodbine where the farm show was during the Civil War. Where the farm show is today is where Philadelphia and New York troops camped because they thought they were above everybody.
Mm-hmm.
I have a picture of it.
Okay.
I'll give it to
Thank you, that'd be great. All right, so and then like you said, he's on the Pennsylvania Monument in Gettysburg, and he's right there with Abraham Lincoln. He's near Hancock, and all kinds of famous Pennsylvanians. All right, you've probably seen this photo before, y'all being Civil War buffs, and it's a very important photo. If you haven't, or you're not sure where Lincoln is, other than this Lincoln, You can find Lincoln in the photo. Try to find him yourself. And then you can see Governor Curtin off to the right, even clearer than Abraham Lincoln. And then here is Lincoln and Governor Curtin. They're on the stage. It's the Gettysburg Address. So this is another big part of his legacy is, you know, as the governor of Pennsylvania, after the Battle of Gettysburg, he's going to make sure that those soldiers who died in the Battle of Gettysburg, gave their lives, are going to be properly buried. So he's going to start a commission to get the land to make a cemetery. You know, David Wills is going to be the agent on behalf of Pennsylvania, but it's Governor Curtin's leadership and initiative that really makes this moment happen, makes the cemetery happen, and then the Gettysburg Address. You know, Lincoln is invited to give some remarks. Why they're there that day is to dedicate the Soldiers' National Cemetery to the Union dead. And so he makes the most famous speech in American history. Curtin's on the stage, he's with him that, you know, the whole day, the day before. So they're all kind of part of that historic.
Matt,
Yes, sir.
some people think